My name is Eric Thompson, 34, and I never thought my family would try to guilt me into canceling the anniversary trip I'd spent a year planning for my wife Megan. When my sister Amanda suddenly demanded I watch her kids instead, I refused. What followed was 2 months of family warfare that changed our relationships forever. The final confrontation happened when they showed up at my door with a stack of babysitting bills, demanding payment. Before I continue with this story, let me know where you're watching from and hit that subscribe button. Growing up in a middle-class neighborhood in Cincinnati, I learned early on that nothing comes easy. My parents, Barbara and David Thompson, raised us with good values but made it clear that we needed to work for what we wanted, while my sister Amanda always seemed to find shortcuts. I put myself through college working nights at a local tech repair shop. I was in my sophomore year studying computer science when I met Megan in a campus coffee shop. She literally ran into me, spilling her latte all over my only decent shirt right before a big presentation. Instead of getting upset, I was struck by her genuine apology and the way she immediately offered to help. That chance encounter led to study sessions, which turned into dinner dates, and before I knew it, we were inseparable. We dated through college and got engaged right after graduation. Our wedding was small but perfect. We didn't need anything fancy, just our closest friends and family celebrating with us. We had dreams of honeymooning in Hawaii, but reality hit when student loans came due. We settled for a weekend at a lakeside cabin instead, promising each other we'd make it to Hawaii someday. Fast forward 5 years, and our marriage had weathered its share of storms. The biggest came last year when Megan was in a serious car accident on her way home from work. A drunk driver ran a red light and T-boned her car at an intersection. She suffered a broken pelvis, fractured ribs, and a concussion. The recovery was grueling: 3 months of physical therapy, pain management, and me helping her with basic daily activities. During those difficult months, I saw a strength in Megan that made me fall in love with her all over again. She never complained, even on her worst days. She focused on small victories, standing without wincing, walking to the mailbox, eventually returning to her job as an elementary school teacher. As she recovered, I made a promise to myself: our 5th anniversary would be special. It would be the Hawaii trip we'd always dreamed about. I started planning 6 months in advance. Each night after Megan went to sleep, I researched resorts, read reviews, and mapped out activities that wouldn't strain her still healing body. I set up a separate savings account, putting away whatever I could from my software developer salary. I tracked flight prices daily, waiting for the perfect deal. I wanted everything to be perfect. 3 months before our anniversary, I finally revealed the surprise. I created a fake movie night at home, but instead of our usual film, I played a video I'd made, photos from our relationship with Hawaiian music in the background, ending with the big reveal. "Pack your bags, we're going to Hawaii!" Megan cried tears of joy, hugging me so tightly I could barely breathe. That moment alone made all the planning worth it. My relationship with my family has always been relatively good, though somewhat complicated with my sister Amanda, 2 years younger than me. Amanda grew up as the baby of the family and seemed to master the art of getting her way. In high school, while I worked weekends, she somehow convinced our parents to buy her a car for her 16th birthday. In college, when I was drowning in student loans, she managed to have our parents cover her tuition after dropping out and returning twice. 5 years ago, Amanda married Brian Sullivan, a successful financial advisor from a wealthy family. Despite marrying into money, Amanda maintained a strange relationship with finances, driving luxury cars and taking expensive vacations while constantly complaining about being stressed over money. Brian seemed nice enough but oddly passive when it came to Amanda's demands. Since Megan and I both love kids, we've always been happy to help with our niece Sophie, 7, and nephew Jake, 5. They're great kids, smart, funny, and generally well-behaved. We've watched them numerous times when Amanda and Brian needed a break, but there was always proper planning involved. We'd arrange dates weeks in advance, discuss any special needs or schedules, and make sure it worked for everyone. As our anniversary trip grew closer, everything was falling into place. I received approval for my vacation time 3 months in advance. Megan arranged for a substitute teacher for her class. We booked our flights, reserved a beautiful oceanfront room, and even arranged for our neighbor's college-age daughter to house sit and care for our cat, Oliver. I planned special surprises for Megan throughout the trip, a sunset cruise, a private beachside dinner, and a guided hiking tour to some of the island's most beautiful waterfalls. The trip was exactly 3 weeks away when everything started to unravel. And it all began at what should have been a normal Sunday dinner at my mother's house. Sunday dinners at my mother Barbara's house had been a tradition since my father passed away 3 years ago. It was her way of keeping the family connected, and despite occasional drama, we all made an effort to attend. That particular Sunday seemed normal at first, Mom's famous pot roast, Brian discussing the stock market, the kids showing off art projects from school. As we were finishing dessert, Amanda cleared her throat dramatically. "I have amazing news," she announced, her eyes gleaming with excitement. "Brian and I have been invited to an exclusive couples retreat in Sedona. It's at this incredible 5-star resort with spa treatments, couples therapy, and networking with some really influential people." "That sounds wonderful," Mom said, beaming at them. "When is it?" "That's the best part," Amanda continued. "It's in 3 weeks. The resort had a last-minute cancellation, and Brian's boss offered us their spot at a huge discount. I felt a strange sense of foreboding as I realized the timing. 3 weeks from now was exactly when Megan and I would be in Hawaii. I glanced at Megan, who seemed to be connecting the dots as well. Amanda turned to us with a wide smile that didn't quite reach her eyes. "So Eric and Megan, the kids are super excited to stay with you that week. Sophie's already planning the crafts you guys can do together." There was a moment of awkward silence. Megan and I exchanged confused looks. "Amanda," I said carefully, "we never discussed watching the kids that week." "Well, I'm telling you now," she replied with a dismissive wave. "It's just for 6 days. The thing is," I continued, "Megan and I will be in Hawaii that week. It's our 5th anniversary trip. We've had it planned for months." Amanda's expression instantly transformed from excitement to annoyance. "Hawaii? It's just a vacation. You can go anytime." "Actually, we can't," Megan interjected gently. "Eric's already arranged the time off work, and I have a substitute teacher scheduled. Everything's booked and paid for." Amanda looked at our mother for support, which came immediately. "Eric," Mom said in that tone she used when I was a child and disappointed her. "Family comes first. Your sister has a wonderful opportunity here." "And our anniversary isn't important?" I asked, feeling my temperature rising. "Of course it is, sweetie," Mom said condescendingly, "but you and Megan can celebrate anywhere, anytime. This retreat is a special opportunity for Amanda and Brian. So is our trip," I insisted. "I've been planning it for 6 months. Hawaii has been our dream since we got married." Amanda's face hardened. "Remember when I watched Oliver for 2 weeks when you and Megan went to that tech conference in Austin? Or when I loaned you money for your first car? That was 15 years ago. And I paid you back within a month," I pointed out. "And we arranged the cat-sitting weeks in advance, plus we paid you." The tension around the table was palpable. Brian stared at his plate, suddenly very interested in the remnants of his apple pie. The kids, sensing the adult tension, had slipped away to play in the living room. "I can't believe you're being so selfish," Amanda snapped. "After everything I've done for you." "This isn't about being selfish," I replied, trying to keep my voice calm. "This is about respecting plans that were made months ago." "So you're really saying no?" Amanda's voice rose. "You won't help your own sister when she needs you?" "I'm saying we already have plans that can't be changed," I explained. Maybe Mom can watch the kids or Brian's parents. Mom's coming with us, Amanda said sharply. And Brian's parents are on a cruise that week. This was news to me. I looked at my mother in surprise. You're going too? Mom at least had the decency to look slightly embarrassed. Amanda and Brian invited me last week. I thought it would be nice to have some adult time. The conversation spiraled downward from there. Amanda stood up abruptly, her chair scraping loudly against the floor. Fine. If you're going to be like that, we're leaving. Come on, Brian. Kids. We're going. Brian mumbled an awkward, "Thanks for dinner," as he followed Amanda. The kids, confused by the sudden departure, gave quick hugs to everyone before being ushered out. After they left, Mom turned to me with disappointment written all over her face. I really thought better of you, Eric. Your sister doesn't ask for much. I nearly choked on my water. Doesn't ask for much? Mom, she expects me to cancel a trip I'd been planning for half a year, that's already paid for. So she can take advantage of a last-minute deal. It's not just any retreat. Mom insisted. It's important for her marriage. And what about my marriage? I asked. What about the importance of the plans Megan and I made? Mom sighed heavily. You've always been so rigid, Eric. Sometimes family requires flexibility. Flexibility goes both ways. Megan said quietly. It was the first time she'd spoken since Amanda's outburst, and I was grateful for her support. The drive home was tense. Megan and I sat in silence for several minutes before she finally spoke. We're not canceling our trip, she said firmly. Absolutely not, I agreed. We've been planning this for months. It's paid for. It's important to us. Amanda will get over it, Megan said, though she didn't sound entirely convinced. I think we need to stand firm on this, I said. If we give in now, it sets a precedent. They'll expect us to drop everything whenever they want something. Megan reached over and squeezed my hand. We're in this together, no matter what pressure they put on us. I had no idea just how much pressure was coming our way. The barrage began at 7:06 the next morning. My phone vibrated with a text from Amanda. I hope you're happy with your decision. The kids are heartbroken that they won't see their favorite uncle. By noon, I had received 17 more messages, each one more emotionally manipulative than the last. Amanda oscillated between guilt-tripping. Sophie cried when I told her. Anger. After everything I've done for you. And bizarre attempts at compromise. You could take the kids to Hawaii with you. Then the family group chat exploded. Somehow, Amanda had managed to spin the story to make me sound like I was abandoning her in a time of critical need. Cousins, aunts, and uncles I barely spoke to were suddenly messaging with opinions about my family commitment issues. Cousin Rachel. Family helps family, Eric. That's how it works. Uncle Steve. Your sister doesn't ask for much, kid. Aunt Patty. Your father would be so disappointed. That last one stung particularly hard. Dad had always taught us to look out for each other. But he'd also emphasized respect and planning. He wouldn't have expected me to cancel an anniversary trip, but it was easier for everyone to invoke his memory than to consider the reality. My mother called that evening, her voice dripping with disappointment. I raise you better than this, Eric. Your sister really needs this retreat. Her marriage has been strained lately. Then maybe they should plan proper childcare instead of assuming I'll cancel my anniversary trip. I replied. That's very cold, Eric. Very cold indeed. I thought family meant something to you. This pattern repeated daily. Mom would call, express her disappointment, tell me how much Amanda needed this break, and imply I was destroying the family by not complying. Each call left me feeling drained and questioning myself, despite knowing I was being reasonable. Meanwhile, Amanda took to social media. She never mentioned me by name, but her passive-aggressive posts were obvious. It's amazing how you discover who really cares about you when you need help. Some people don't understand that family comes before vacations. Blessed to have some relatives who aren't completely selfish. Each post garnered sympathetic comments from relatives and friends who had no idea of the actual circumstances. The situation escalated when individual family members started reaching out. My cousin Mike called to just chat, which quickly turned into him suggesting I be the bigger person and rescheduled my trip. My Aunt Patty emailed articles about the importance of sibling relationships as we age. Even my 80-year-old grandmother called to tell me she was praying for my heart to soften. A week after the initial confrontation, I was at work, deep in code for a project deadline. When my assistant messaged that I had visitors in the lobby, I was surprised to find Amanda standing there with Sophie and Jake, all three holding handmade cards. "We thought we'd surprise Uncle Eric," Amanda announced loudly, several of my coworkers looking on with smiles. "The kids made you something special." Sophie handed me a card covered in glitter and crayon drawings. "It says world's best uncle because you're going to let us stay at your house while Mommy and Daddy go on their trip," she explained innocently. My heart sank. Amanda had put me in an impossible position, either disappoint the children to their faces or agree to her demands. I knelt down to their level. "This is beautiful, guys." "Thank you. But I need to talk to your mom about the timing. Uncle Eric and Aunt Megan have a special trip planned for the same week." Jake's face fell. "But Mommy said we're staying with you. She said we'd make cookies and go to the park." I shot Amanda a look that could have frozen lava. She smiled back sweetly. "We'll figure something out. I told the kids. I promise." After getting the kids some juice from the break room, I pulled Amanda aside. "That was low, even for you," I hissed. "Using the kids as emotional leverage?" She shrugged, not even bothering to deny it. "I thought seeing them might help you reconsider your priorities." That evening, Megan received a call from my mother. I could hear only Megan's side of the conversation, but it was clear Mom was trying to get her to talk some sense into me. "Barbara, I understand your concern," Megan said firmly. "But this trip is important to both of us. No, it's not just about the money. Yes, I do care about Sophie and Jake. With all due respect, our anniversary plans were made months ago." When she hung up, Megan looked exhausted. "Your mother suggested I might not be a good aunt if I choose a selfish vacation over family needs." 2 days later, we received a group text from my mother. "Family dinner this Saturday. Everyone needs to attend. We have important things to discuss." The dinner was nothing short of an intervention. We arrived to find not just Amanda, Brian, and my mother, but also my Aunt Patty, Uncle Steve, and cousins Mike and Rachel. The kids had been conveniently sent to a friend's house. "We're here because we care about this family," Mom began once everyone was seated. "And right now, there's a situation threatening to divide us." For the next 45 minutes, everyone took turns explaining why I should cancel my anniversary trip. Cousin Rachel suggested we compromise by taking Sophie and Jake with us to Hawaii. Uncle Steve offered to chip in for us to reschedule our trip for the following month, ignoring the fact that Megan's teaching schedule wouldn't allow it. "I already booked our retreat," Amanda announced. "I assumed you'd help out like family should." "You assumed wrong," I replied, my patience wearing thin. "You should have asked us before booking anything." "Well, if you're really going to be this selfish," Amanda snapped, "the least you could do is pay for a professional sitter. The service I called charges $25 per hour. That's your responsibility." Megan said quietly but firmly, "We're not canceling our trip, and we're not paying for your childcare." The stress was affecting both of us. Megan developed tension headaches. I found myself checking my phone with dread each morning. Our excitement about the trip was being overshadowed by the constant barrage of guilt and manipulation. "Maybe we should just reschedule," I said one night, at my lowest point. "Is this all worth it?" Megan took my hands in hers. Eric, if we give in now, this pattern will never end. This isn't just about a vacation. It's about respect and boundaries. She was right, of course. And it was time to draw a line. 2 weeks before our departure date, with the family pressure becoming unbearable, I made a difficult decision. I drafted a message to my family group chat. I want to make something clear. Megan and I are not canceling our anniversary trip. We've been planning this for months. It's paid for and non-refundable. We're not taking Sophie and Jake with us, and we're not paying for Amanda's childcare. I love my family, but I need some space from this situation. I won't be responding to messages about this topic anymore. I followed through by muting the group chat and setting my mother's and Amanda's numbers to Do Not Disturb. It wasn't a complete block. I'd still receive their messages and could check them when I felt mentally prepared, but it prevented the constant notifications from disrupting my day. The silence lasted approximately 18 hours. On day 2 of my digital boundary setting, I came home from work to find Amanda's minivan parked in our driveway. She was standing on our porch with Sophie and Jake, each child clutching a small suitcase. A larger suitcase stood beside Amanda. "There you are!" she exclaimed as I walked up. "We've been waiting for 20 minutes. I stared at her in disbelief. "What are you doing here?" "I have a spa appointment at 4, she said, checking her watch. "I'm already running late." The kids have everything they need. Jake needs his allergy medicine before bed. I'll pick them up Sunday evening. She turned to leave, actually taking several steps toward her van. "Amanda, stop," I called. "We never agreed to this." She turned, her expression a mixture of annoyance and fake confusion. "But you always watch them. You're their uncle." "We're leaving for Hawaii in 12 days, I said firmly. "We're not watching the kids today or any day before our trip." Sophie looked up at me, her expression uncertain. "Don't you want us to stay, Uncle Eric?" My heart broke a little, but I had to remain firm. I knelt down to her level. "I always love spending time with you guys. But this isn't a good time. Your mom didn't ask us first." Amanda's face hardened. "Fine. Come on, kids. Uncle Eric is too busy for family." "That's not fair," I said, standing up. "Call Brian. He's their father. He can watch his own children." "Brian has a client dinner," she snapped. "That sounds like a you problem, not a me problem," I replied. "You can't just show up and expect us to drop everything." What followed was what my neighbors later described as quite a show. Amanda began crying, then yelling, then crying again, all while standing on our front lawn. She accused me of hating her children, destroying our family, and spitting on our parents' legacy. The kids, confused and upset by their mother's behavior, started crying too. Eventually, Amanda loaded the children back into her minivan and peeled out of our driveway, nearly hitting our mailbox in the process. Less than 10 minutes later, my phone rang with my mother's ringtone. Against my better judgment, I answered. "How could you?" she demanded without preamble. "How could I what? Refuse to accept children I never agreed to watch?" "Your sister is having a breakdown because of you," Mom said. "She really needed this time with her friends." "Wait," I said, catching the discrepancy. "I thought this was a couple's retreat with Brian. Now it's time with friends." There was a telling pause before Mom continued, ignoring my question. "You've always been selfish, Eric. But this is a new low. Those children were crying. You're breaking their hearts. No, Amanda is using her children as emotional pawns. That's on her, not me. You're heartless," Mom declared. "Absolutely heartless. I raised you better than this." After hanging up, I found myself shaking with anger and guilt. Megan, who had heard everything, wrapped her arms around me. "You did the right thing," she assured me. Amanda was completely out of line. The next week brought an escalation I hadn't anticipated. Family members I hadn't spoken to in years were suddenly texting and calling, each with their version of What's going on with you and Amanda? The story had transformed dramatically in transit. Now I had supposedly promised months ago to watch the kids, then callously backed out at the last minute. Our phones buzzed constantly with group chat messages discussing my selfish behavior and lack of family values. Most painful were the posts from my mother, who seemed to have forgotten every good thing I'd ever done for the family. A son who turns his back on his sister is no son at all, read one particularly hurtful message. The strain was beginning to affect our daily lives. Megan, normally the most patient teacher at her school, snapped at a student for a minor infraction. I made careless errors in my code that took hours to fix. Neither of us was sleeping well. One night, unable to sleep at 2 a.m., I noticed headlights outside our bedroom window. Looking out, I saw Amanda's minivan parked across the street, just sitting there with the lights on. After about 5 minutes, the van drove away. "That's it," Megan said, witnessing the same thing. "This is getting creepy." The next day, we installed security cameras covering our front and back doors. We weren't being paranoid. Amanda had shown she was willing to cross boundaries, and we needed to protect ourselves. The final straw came when I received an email from Amanda with the subject line, "Final Notice." Attached was a PDF invoice from Premium Care Childcare Services for 96 hours of childcare at $25 per hour, totaling $2,400. "This is your responsibility," the email read. "Payment expected before your anniversary trip." I didn't respond. Instead, I did something that brought me instant relief. I blocked Amanda's number, email, and social media accounts. I also temporarily muted all family contacts. With just 10 days until our trip, I needed peace. Megan followed suit, and we experienced our first quiet evening in weeks. We finally talked about Hawaii again, the excursions we planned, the restaurants we wanted to try, the sunsets we would watch together. For the first time in a month, we fell asleep easily, without the dread of waking to more family drama. The week before our departure passed in blessed silence. We prepared for our trip with growing excitement. The family situation temporarily pushed to the back of our minds. Whatever awaited us upon our return, we would face it together, but for now, we allowed ourselves to focus on each other and the special trip we had planned for so long. Stepping off the plane in Maui felt like entering another world. The humid, flower-scented air embraced us as we made our way to the rental car area. Megan's face, tense for weeks from family stress, softened in the island sunshine. I felt the knot in my chest loosen for the first time in a month. "We made it," she whispered, squeezing my hand. Our resort exceeded every expectation. Our room overlooked the ocean, with a private lanai where we could watch the sunset. The king-sized bed was adorned with fresh flowers arranged in the shape of a heart, a special touch I'd arranged with the hotel staff. That first evening, we walked barefoot along the beach, the warm water lapping at our ankles. We didn't talk about family drama or the stress of the past month. Instead, we reminisced about our first date, our wedding day, and the journey that had brought us to this moment. "Remember when we couldn't afford Hawaii for our honeymoon?" Megan said, watching the sunset paint the sky in brilliant oranges and pinks. "It was worth waiting for." The following day brought our first scheduled activity, a snorkeling tour of Malakini Crater. Megan, still conscious of her past injuries, moved carefully as we entered the water. But once she was floating, watching colorful fish dart around the coral, her face lit up with childlike wonder. "This is incredible," she kept saying, pointing out different species. The boat captain, a native Hawaiian named Kai, shared stories of the island's history and legends during our lunch break. "In Hawaiian culture, family, or ohana, extends beyond blood relatives," he told us. "It includes those who choose to be part of your life journey, who support and respect you." Megan and I exchanged meaningful glances. It was exactly what we needed to hear. On our third day, I surprised Megan with the special anniversary gift I'd been planning for months, a sunset dinner cruise along the coast. As we boarded the catamaran, a crew member handed us champagne and led us to a private table at the bow. "Happy anniversary," I said, presenting Megan with a small box. Inside was a necklace, a silver pendant shaped like the Hawaiian Islands, with a tiny diamond marking Maui. Megan's eyes filled with tears as I fastened it around her neck. "It's perfect," she whispered. "This whole trip is perfect." Midway through our trip, curiosity got the better of me. While Megan napped one afternoon, I checked my email, bracing myself for family drama. There were several messages from relatives, most expressing disappointment in my choice to abandon family. But one email caught my attention, from my cousin Mike. With the subject line, "The real story. Just wanted you to know," Mike wrote. "Amanda found a sitter for the kids. She and her friends went to Sedona as planned. Your mom stayed home." Lots of family photos being posted with captions about stepping up when others won't. "Thought you should know. Enjoy Hawaii, you guys deserve it." I closed my laptop without responding. So the critical couples retreat had morphed into a girls' trip, and my mother had lied about going. The revelation should have made me angry, but instead, I felt oddly validated. This was exactly why we needed to stand our ground. I chose not to share this information with Megan right away. Why interrupt our perfect vacation with more family drama? Instead, I focused on making our remaining days as special as possible. We hiked to waterfalls, drove the famous road to Hana, and spent long afternoons on the beach. In the evenings, we talked about our future, dreams beyond the daily grind of work and routine. Megan expressed interest in eventually pursuing a master's degree in education. I confessed my desire to develop my own software someday, perhaps even start a small company. "This trip has reminded me of what's important," Megan said one night as we sat on our lanai, listening to the waves. "Not just vacation, but taking time to reconnect and dream together." "I was thinking the same thing," I replied. "Maybe we need to prioritize trips like this more often. Not always Hawaii, but time just for us." "I'd like that," she said, resting her head on my shoulder. "And I think we need to be clearer about boundaries with your family moving forward." She was right, of course. While I dreaded the confrontation awaiting us back home, I knew it was necessary. Our marriage needed protection from the chaotic demands and emotional manipulation that had become too common. On our last morning in Hawaii, we sat on the beach watching the sunrise, a fitting bookend to the sunset we'd enjoyed on our first night. "Ready to go back to reality?" I asked. Megan nodded thoughtfully. "I am, actually. This trip gave me strength. Whatever happens with your family, we'll handle it together." The flight home felt shorter than the journey there, our hearts lighter despite the uncertainty ahead. When we unlocked our front door, Oliver the cat greeted us with indignant meows about our absence, quickly appeased by treats and attention. Then I checked our messages. The family group chat had been active during our absence. Scrolling through quickly, I saw variations on a theme. "Hope you're proud of yourselves, some people only think about themselves." "Family means sacrifice." There were also photos, Amanda and 3 women I recognized as her friends, posing at a spa, hiking red rock formations, and drinking cocktails by a pool. The captions were pointedly passive-aggressive. "So grateful for real family who stepped up." And, "This retreat saved my sanity after being let down by those I thought I could count on." More concerning were several direct messages from my mother, each more guilt-inducing than the last. The most recent, sent just hours ago, read, "We need to have a serious conversation when you're back. This family has serious healing to do because of your choices." I showed the messages to Megan, including Mike's email about what really happened. "Are you going to respond?" she asked. "Not tonight," I decided. "Let's get settled first. Process everything. Then I'll reach out." The next morning, I sent a simple message to my mother. "We're back from Hawaii. It was a wonderful anniversary trip. I'm open to talking when things are calmer. Her response came within minutes. Your sister is devastated by your behavior. You need to apologize and make things right. I didn't take the bait. Instead, I focused on getting back into our routine, unpacking, doing laundry, preparing for work the next day. I knew the family storm would find us eventually, but I wasn't going to rush into it. What I didn't expect was exactly how that confrontation would arrive, or what would happen when it did. For 2 months, an uneasy peace settled over our lives. After my initial message to my mother, I reached out a few more times, attempting to mend fences while maintaining my position that I'd done nothing wrong. The responses were cold but civil. Amanda remained blocked on all platforms, a boundary I wasn't ready to lift. Megan and I settled back into our routine, sharing Hawaii photos with friends and colleagues who actually wanted to see them. Life moved forward. The family drama, while unresolved, became less pressing as days passed. Then came a Saturday morning in early June. We were enjoying a lazy weekend breakfast, French toast and coffee on the patio, when our doorbell rang. Oliver, sunbathing nearby, flicked his tail in annoyance at the interruption. Expecting anyone? Megan asked. I shook my head, setting down my coffee to answer the door. Standing on our porch were Amanda, Brian, and my mother. Amanda clutched a manila envelope. My mother wore her "This is serious business" expression, lips pressed into a thin line, eyes narrowed slightly. Brian looked like he'd rather be anywhere else. We need to talk, Amanda announced before I could even say hello. I hesitated, then stepped back. Come in. They filed into our living room. Megan appeared from the patio, her expression carefully neutral as she greeted everyone. Would anyone like coffee? She offered. This isn't a social call, Amanda replied sharply. She thrust the manila envelope at me. This is for you. Inside was a stack of papers, invoices from Premium Family Childcare Services. The total at the bottom of the final page read $2,400. What's this? I asked, though I knew exactly what it was. The sitter we had to hire because of you, Amanda said. Professional childcare for 6 days at holiday rates. You need to pay it. I stared at her, momentarily speechless. After 2 months of silence, this was her opening move? You can't be serious. I finally managed. Completely serious, Amanda insisted. If you had done your family duty, we wouldn't have needed to hire anyone. She's right, Eric, my mother added. Actions have consequences. Your refusal to help your sister created this expense. I looked at Brian, who was studying our carpet with great interest. You agree with this? I asked him directly. He shifted uncomfortably but didn't answer. Let's all sit down, Megan suggested, her teacher voice emerging, calm but authoritative. We arranged ourselves awkwardly in the living room, Amanda and my mother on the sofa, Brian in an armchair, Megan and I on the love seat opposite them. The invoice lay on the coffee table between us like a loaded weapon. Let me understand this, I said, struggling to keep my voice level. You've come here after 2 months of minimal contact to demand that I pay for childcare I never agreed to provide? If you had watched the kids like families should, there wouldn't be a bill, Amanda repeated. I never agreed to watch them, I pointed out. In fact, I explicitly told you we couldn't because we had our anniversary trip planned months in advance. Families should be flexible, my mother interjected. Flexibility goes both ways, Barbara, Megan said quietly. It was the first time I'd ever heard her address my mother by her first name instead of Mom. I took a deep breath. Amanda, I'd like you to walk me through your thinking here. How did you decide this bill is my responsibility? Amanda launched into a detailed list of all the sacrifices she'd supposedly made for me over the years, watching our cat once, for which we paid her, helping me move in college, along with 5 other friends, lending me money for textbooks one semester, which I repaid with interest, The list grew increasingly trivial and distant as she continued. I have always been there for you, she concluded. The one time I needed you to step up, you chose a vacation over family. It wasn't just a vacation, I corrected her. It was our anniversary trip that we'd been planning for 6 months. A trip that was especially important after Megan's accident and recovery last year. You could have rescheduled, Mom insisted. Why didn't you reschedule your trip? Megan asked Amanda directly. Since ours was planned first? Amanda shifted uncomfortably. The retreat was a special opportunity. Limited availability. So was our anniversary, I pointed out. Why is your last-minute trip more important than our long-planned celebration? Because I needed childcare. Amanda's voice rose. I'm a mother. Do you have any idea how stressful that is? I understand parenting is challenging, Megan said evenly. But that doesn't make your needs automatically supersede everyone else's. Did you ask anyone else to watch the kids? I inquired. Other family members? Friends? Brian's parents? Everyone was busy, Amanda muttered. Everyone? I pressed. Or did you come to us first because you assume we'll always say yes? Brian cleared his throat. It was the first sound he'd made since entering our house. I told her we should have arranged childcare before booking the trip, he admitted, not meeting Amanda's furious gaze. You're taking their side? Amanda hissed at him. I'm not taking sides, Brian replied, finally looking up. But we did book the trip without confirming childcare first. That wasn't fair. My mother jumped in, clearly trying to regain control of the conversation. The point is, Amanda and Brian needed this retreat. Their marriage has been under strain. You could have helped, Eric, but you chose not to. That's not exactly accurate, I said, standing up and walking to my office. I returned with a folder of my own, from which I extracted several documents: flight confirmations, hotel reservations, excursion bookings. Each was dated months before Amanda's retreat was even mentioned. Here's the evidence of our trip planning, I said, spreading the papers beside Amanda's invoice. Flights booked 4 months ago. Hotel reserved 5 months ago. All non-refundable. All planned during a very difficult time for us. I turned to my mother. You remember Megan's accident last year, right? The 3 months of physical therapy? The pain she endured? This trip was important for us, Mom. It was healing. For the first time, I saw a flicker of doubt cross my mother's face. And Amanda? I continued, turning to my sister. Mike told me that your couple's retreat turned into a girls' trip, and Mom didn't even go. Is that true? Amanda's face flushed. That's not relevant. It is relevant, I insisted. You presented this as a critical couples retreat and family emergency. You implied Mom was going too. But it was actually a last-minute girls' trip that you booked without confirming childcare first. I deserved that trip. Amanda's voice rose to a near shout. Do you know how hard it is being a mother? I needed a break. I don't doubt that, I said more gently. Everyone needs breaks. But your need for a break doesn't create an emergency obligation for me, especially when I had important plans already. So you don't care about me or the kids at all, Amanda said, tears forming in her eyes. That's when something shifted in me. I'd been trying to reason with Amanda using logic and evidence, but she wasn't operating from a place of reason. She genuinely believed her needs should automatically override mine, and no amount of explanation would change that perspective. Amanda, I love you and the kids, I said quietly. But love doesn't mean I have to sacrifice my marriage whenever you want something. Respect has to go both ways. I turned to my mother. Mom, I've always valued family. Dad taught us that. But he also taught us about respect and planning ahead. He would never have expected me to cancel an anniversary trip because Amanda made last-minute plans. My mother's expression softened slightly. Your father was big on planning, she acknowledged. This isn't about not loving family, Megan added. It's about healthy boundaries. We can love Sophie and Jake without being available on demand. Family should come first. My mother insisted, but her voice lacked its earlier conviction. Megan is my family, I said firmly. My marriage is my primary commitment. Just like Amanda's marriage and children are her primary commitment. Just like you and Dad were a unit when we were growing up. The room fell silent. Brian was nodding slightly. Almost imperceptibly. My mother seemed to be processing my words. Amanda stared at the floor, tears falling now. Finally, I picked up the invoice and handed it back to Amanda. I'm not paying this bill. You created this expense by booking a trip without confirming childcare. That's not my responsibility. Then who's supposed to pay it? Amanda demanded, though her voice had lost its edge. The same people who would have paid it if we were genuinely unavailable, like if we'd been hospitalized or living in another state. I replied. You and Brian. Brian nodded resignedly. He's right, Amanda. We should have confirmed childcare before booking. Amanda turned to him, betrayal written across her face. So that's it? You're taking their side too? There shouldn't be sides in a family. I interjected. This isn't a competition. It's about mutual respect. I have always respected you, Amanda insisted. Showing up at our door with packed suitcases, assuming we'd watched the kids without asking first, that's not respect, Megan pointed out gently. Demanding Eric cancel a trip he'd planned for months, that's not respect either. Amanda fell silent, seemingly at a loss for words. My mother sighed heavily. Perhaps we all need to communicate better, she conceded. It wasn't exactly an apology, but from Barbara Thompson, it was significant. I think that's a good starting point, I agreed. Clear communication and respect for each other's plans and boundaries. Amanda stood abruptly, gathering the invoice. Fine. Message received. We'll pay the stupid bill. Amanda, I said. Standing as well? This isn't about the money. It's about. I know. Boundaries and respect and all that. She wiped her eyes roughly. Can we just go now? My mother stood, placing a conciliatory hand on Amanda's shoulder. I think we should give everyone some space to cool down. As they moved toward the door, Brian hung back. Can I talk to you for a minute? He asked me quietly. Amanda looked back, frowning. We're leaving, Brian? I'll just be a minute, he assured her. Wait in the car. After Amanda and my mother exited, Brian turned to us with an apologetic expression. I'm sorry about all this, he said. I tried to tell Amanda that we should have arranged childcare before booking the retreat. But you know how she gets when she sets her mind on something. I do know, I acknowledged. For what it's worth, I told her not to bring that invoice here today. Some of her friends encouraged her, said you should be responsible since you refused to help. He shook his head. I thought it was a bad idea. Thank you for saying that, Megan said. Brian nodded. Your anniversary trip looked amazing, by the way. The photos you posted. Hawaii seems beautiful. It was, I confirmed. Maybe you guys can go someday. Maybe. He smiled sadly. Anyway, I should go. They're waiting. After Brian left, Megan and I sat in silence for several minutes, processing what had just happened. That went differently than I expected, Megan finally said. Me too. I reached for her hand. Think anything will change? She squeezed my fingers. Maybe. Not overnight. But seeds were planted. She was right. Seeds had been planted, though I had no idea then how they would eventually grow. The days following the confrontation were quiet. No messages, no calls, just silence from my family. I wasn't sure if this was progress or just the calm before another storm. 4 days after their visit, my phone pinged with a text from Brian. Just wanted to apologize again for Sunday. Amanda was out of line bringing that invoice. I've paid the sitter bill. Hope we can move forward somehow. I appreciated his gesture but wasn't sure how to respond. After thinking about it, I simply wrote, "Thanks, Brian. I appreciate that." A week later came a more surprising message, from my cousin Mike. Words getting around about what really happened with Amanda's emergency childcare situation. Most of the family is feeling pretty foolish for piling on you without knowing the facts. Aunt Patty says she owes you an apology. Gradually, family members began reaching out with awkward but seemingly sincere apologies. Uncle Steve called to say he might have jumped to conclusions. Cousin Rachel sent a text admitting she should have heard both sides. Even my grandmother called to say she'd been praying for family healing. The most difficult reconciliation, predictably, came from my mother. 2 weeks after the confrontation, she called and asked if we could meet for coffee. Alone. We met at a quiet cafe near her house. She looked older somehow. More vulnerable than I was used to seeing her. "I've been doing a lot of thinking," she began after we'd ordered. "About family, about boundaries, about how I've handled things." I waited, giving her space to continue. "After your father died, I think I became rigid about family unity. I couldn't bear the thought of our family falling apart without him to hold us together." She stirred her coffee unnecessarily. "In trying to keep everyone close, I may have enabled some unhealthy patterns." It was as close to an admission of fault as I'd ever heard from her. "I understand," I said gently. "Dad was the mediator. Without him, you took on that role the best way you knew how. Amanda has always been challenging," Mom continued, choosing her words carefully. "Even as a child, she had a way of making her problems everyone else's emergency. Your father was better at setting limits with her than I've been." "It's not too late to establish healthier patterns," I suggested. Mom nodded thoughtfully. "I owe you and Megan an apology. Your anniversary trip was important, and I should have respected that." "Thank you," I said, genuinely moved. "That means a lot. I can't promise Amanda will come around as easily," Mom warned. "She still feels very justified in her position." "I understand. Change takes time. But I need to maintain certain boundaries with her, for my marriage and my own well-being." "What kind of boundaries?" Mom asked, looking concerned. "Basic respect," I explained. "Not assuming Megan and I will drop everything whenever she wants something. Asking before making plans that involve us. Accepting when we say no." Mom nodded slowly. "Those seem reasonable." We talked for nearly 2 hours, covering years of family dynamics and establishing a new understanding. It wasn't perfect, but it was progress. The most challenging reconciliation was with Amanda. For nearly a month after the confrontation, she maintained radio silence. Then, somewhat surprisingly, she reached out to Megan rather than me, asking if they could meet for lunch. Megan returned from that lunch with cautious optimism. "She's still hurt," Megan reported, "but I think she's starting to recognize her part in the conflict." She actually asked what she could do to make things better. "That's unexpected," I admitted. "I suggested she start by apologizing to you," Megan said. "We'll see if she follows through." A week later, Amanda texted asking if I would meet her for dinner, just the two of us. We met at a neutral location, a restaurant halfway between our homes. Her apology wasn't perfect. It contained qualifiers like, "I'm sorry if you felt disrespected," rather than, "I'm sorry I disrespected you." But it was a start. "I've been talking to my therapist about boundaries," she admitted. Surprising me. I hadn't known she was seeing a therapist. "She thinks I might have some issues with entitlement." "What do you think?" I asked carefully. Amanda sighed. "I think maybe I'm used to getting my way. And maybe I take advantage of people who usually say yes." It was more self-awareness than I'd expected from her. "I'd like us to have a better relationship," I told her honestly. I love you, and I love Sophie and Jake. But I need you to respect my marriage and my boundaries. I'm trying to understand that, she said. It's not easy for me. But I'm trying. We agreed to start small, planned visits with the kids, clear communication about expectations, and a cooling-off period if either of us felt boundaries were being crossed. Over the following months, our family relationships began to heal, though not without occasional setbacks. Amanda still had moments of entitlement, but they were less frequent and less intense. My mother occasionally slipped into her role as Amanda's defender, but she caught herself more quickly. The most profound change was within my marriage. Megan and I had weathered a significant storm together and emerged stronger. We established clearer boundaries with my family and became more intentional about nurturing our relationship. 6 months after the confrontation, we gathered for Thanksgiving at my mother's house, the first full family gathering since the drama began. There were awkward moments, but also genuine laughter and connection. After dinner, Brian pulled me aside. "Things have been better at home," he confided. "Amanda's therapy seems to be helping. She's less demanding with everyone. I've noticed," I acknowledged. "It's good to see. We're planning a family trip to the beach next summer," he continued, "with proper childcare arrangements." He added with a smile, "Maybe you and Megan would like to join us for a couple of days? No pressure, just an invitation. We'll think about it." I promised, genuinely touched by the gesture. A year after our Hawaii trip, Megan and I began planning our next adventure, a tour of national parks for our 6th anniversary. This time, when we announced our plans at a family dinner 3 months in advance, Amanda simply said, "That sounds amazing. Take lots of pictures for us." It was a small moment, but it represented enormous growth. The experience taught me several invaluable lessons. First, that standing firm on important boundaries isn't selfish, it's necessary for healthy relationships. Second, that my marriage deserves protection and prioritization. And third, that sometimes the most loving thing you can do for family is to stop enabling unhealthy patterns. Today, my relationship with Amanda isn't perfect, but it's healthier than it's ever been. We respect each other's boundaries and communicate more clearly. My mother has found a better balance between family connection and individual respect. And most importantly, Megan and I have established our marriage as our primary commitment, not in opposition to family, but as the foundation from which we engage with family. Looking back, I'm grateful for that difficult period, despite the pain it caused. It forced necessary changes that might never have happened otherwise. Sometimes, the most significant growth comes from the most challenging conflicts. Have you ever had to set difficult boundaries with family? How did you handle it? Let me know in the comments below. If this story resonated with you, please hit the like button and subscribe to hear more real-life experiences. And remember, establishing healthy boundaries isn't selfish. It's essential for genuine relationships built on mutual respect. Thank you for listening to my story, and I wish you strength and clarity in navigating your own family dynamics.